The Indiana Fever has won a game. They're on a 5-game win streak without Caitlin Clark. They're doing it together without Caitlin Clark. He goes the other route, the more easier path to walk down. Apparently, the Indiana Fever chose a picture without Caitlin Clark in it. The one person who is responsible for bringing it in, they hate her. I will say on the Storm looked like whenever they felt like turning it on, they were going to score every possession. The Indiana Fever has won a game. They're on a 5-game win streak without Caitlin Clark. Apparently, the Indiana Fever chose a picture without Caitlin Clark in it. They're doing it together without Caitlin Clark. Apparently, the Indiana Fever chose a picture without Caitlin Clark in it. They're doing it together without Caitlin Clark. The Indiana Fevers won a game. They're on a 5-game win streak without Caitlin Clark. He goes the easier path by painting Caitlin Clark fans as the problem. The own person who brought all this attention, they hate her. If she goes, you don't have to be a Fever fan. You can be a Caitlin Clark fan. The one person who is responsible for bringing it in, they hate her. He goes the other route, the more easier path to walk down. It's something that the fans seem to want the Fever team players to suffer and want to call out the players because, let's be real. Stephanie White did not name Caitlin Clark when praising the team chemistry. Clark sat for a long stretch. The Fever looked even more aggressive. That whole bench looked fired up and Clark wasn't even in the shot. When Caitlin Clark does return to the floor, how is she going to help elevate this team even more down the stretch of the season? You could feel it. This team was playing with purpose, but not for Caitlin. Her name didn't come up in post-game interviews. That says a lot. But again, it was a Tanisha dream. Different things happened. But the Indiana Fever are no longer playing against Team Zagami. The biggest example is the Vegas Aces. The Indiana Fever are on a 5-game win streak without Caitlin Clark. That fact alone sparked a wave of controversy after ABC promoted the streak as if it had never happened before, even though a similar one occurred last year. Yet now, without Clark in the lineup, the team is being celebrated like never before. And according to ABC, and they're on a 5-game win streak. They've never had one with Caitlin Clark, even though they had one last year. But let's pretend that Monica McNutt is not Monica McNutt. Let's pretend that Carolyn Peck is not the #1 Caitlin Clark hater in the entirety of the WNBA. They're actually, some are even calling it a victory lap without her. The conversation shifted quickly from supporting Clark to spotlighting everyone else on the team. Critics are calling out the sudden narrative push, especially since the wind started rolling in the moment Clark got sidelined. The question fans are asking now, was this just luck, or is the Fever trying to prove they don't need Caitlin anymore? When Caitlin Clark is gone, let them take the victory lap because the Fever will eventually be fairly penalized for their poor performance without Caitlin Clark. And no playoff team is hoping that Caitlin Clark stays injured or, more accurately, doesn't return. Stephanie White commended the Indiana Fever team, noting standout performers including Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, Sophie Cunningham, Lexi Hall, and Aari McDonald. Not once did she mention Caitlin Clark's role in their success. The message was loud and clear. The team is winning games and they're doing it without her. Okay, and that's why I haven't jumped out there to just really praise Stephanie White because you got Aaliyah Boston, you got Kelsey Mitchell, you got Sophie Cunningham, you got Lexi Hall, you got Aari McDonald, you got Natasha Howard. You should be winning 3 out of every 4 games as far as I'm concerned. Even while Clark recovers, the coach and media seem more focused on those currently on the floor. Some fans felt the omission was intentional, suggesting the organization is easing the public into a future that doesn't revolve around Clark. When you continually showcase everyone but your biggest star, it starts to look less like an oversight and more like a scheme. I believe that this 5-game winning streak has been caused by a number of things. Competition has been a part of it, But I was quite vocal when they lost her, and I've been pretty vocal since she's been out. This team is good. It is a good team. They should be winning the majority of their games. The prediction around Caitlin Clark's return has been vague with no clear timetable in sight. What's more telling is how comfortable the Fever seemed without her. Analysts believe the team is deliberately taking their time, not because Clark isn't ready, but because the chemistry without her has been too strong to disrupt. They're winning games, roles are clearer. Caitlin Clark, reportedly, she's already doing full court running. If Kay and she wouldn't be attempting to recover from an injury in Russia, and Clark was out for the season, Kay and Clark would be sitting out for a month right now if she were sidelined for the season. She would not be training, practicing by herself. She wouldn't have her own trainers. She will be wearing similar attire to the game yesterday. She would be sitting out. She was hurt. My prediction is there's no schedule, and there's no urgency from the coaching staff to reintegrate her quickly. Some believe the delay is strategic. It gives the Fever way to see just how far they can go without their so-called generational talent. That alone raises eyebrows about her place on the team's current trajectory. The way the team is rolling and how bad the Sky are, how bad the Wings are, I don't think she's back for either of them. So she's definitely going to be out for the away trip. She's definitely going to be out for 2 games this week. It's highly likely that she will miss Saturday's game. I believe she will return to practice on Tuesday of next week. I don't think she's back for this game. A recent post-game moment caught fans off guard. They fired up the whole Fever bench, celebrating a clutch play, but Caitlin Clark wasn't in the frame. The huddle did not include her. She wasn't anywhere near the group. That single visual went viral across social platforms as people questioned how and why their supposed franchise player was missing from such a crucial team moment. The Indiana Fever, in my opinion, are a capable team even without Caitlin Clark. They are better without Caitlin Clark than they were. Like, they looked completely incompetent to start the year. Like, they put up 59, 57 points. Was it against the Dream? Was she benched? Was she sidelined? Or was she simply left out? Fans were quick to draw their own conclusions, with many calling. It's symbolic of how distant she's become from the team's core energy. Without Caitlin Clark, the optics said more than any press release ever could. Caitlin Clark returns. They scored 102 points. They scored 42 more points the next game. Caitlin Clark's dream backfired. They scored 60 points and a half when she came back. During a tough game, the Fever fought hard and pulled ahead. But something was off. The emotion, the grit, the desire, none of it looked connected to Caitlin Clark. It was like the team had found a new identity in her absence. One observer even noted, "They're playing with purpose, but not for Caitlin." That is literally what the WNBA have done. They have said things like, "Look, I like the league. Why do I enjoy the league? I like the sport of basketball." The truth is that I can make a living covering basketball thanks to the content I create. Would I rather work as an NBA reporter than a WNBA reporter? Honestly, no. That quote spread fast. In the past, Clark was the reason the crowd cheered, the media swarmed, and the team strategized. Now, she seems more like a background figure. Whether intentional or not, the Fever's energy feels reborn without her, and that has major implications for what comes next. As you know, it's easier to cover. It's easier to watch every game. It's easier to focus on teams closer to the style of basketball that I play. It's like I'm played in the top league in Ireland. I have semi-professional experience to basketball. I've coached in the second tier in Ireland. I have, in fact, played for national teams. I've faced some of the best players my age in Europe. Like, when Stephanie White was asked how Caitlin Clark's return would impact the team, she spoke in vague generalities. She praised Clark's length, gravity, and floor spacing ability, but her tone didn't suggest urgency or excitement. For someone coaching a generational player, her remarks sounded more clinical than supportive. All right, y'all heard what Stephanie White said, right? You heard what she said. Good stuff, Stephanie, good stuff. But let me reiterate what she wanted to say, right? I realized she had to keep things classy because she's within the league. She's a coach within the league and all that good stuff. But let me tell you exactly what she wanted to say, right? Fans expected a statement that validated Clark's pivotal role. White, however, seemed more concerned with system effectiveness than star power. Some believe that behind the scenes, White is preparing the team to operate independently of Clark's play style. It's a subtle but clear pivot in coaching philosophy. It's going to be belt to booty cheeks when Caitlin Clark comes back to the Indiana Fever, man. It's going to be just that. Everybody eager for GTA 6. It's going to be BTA. It's going to be BTA 6. Belt theft auto. Okay. Because we're taking names and we're taking cheeks. Okay. With the belt that is... yeah. It's going to be belt to booty cheeks. All right, Caitlin Clark is going to be heading in with this hot team. Stephanie White emphasized long-term health and confirmed that there is no timeline for Clark's return. But what raised eyebrows was how lightly she treated the situation. Clark eyes apparently completing full court sprints. showing signs of being game ready. However, there's no firm plan to bring her back. That gap between action and decision hints at something deeper. Kay Clark. Allegedly, she's already doing full court running. Kay and Clark wouldn't be attempting to recover from an injury in Russia if she was sidelined for the season. If Kay Clark was out for the season, she would be sitting out right now for a month. Are they protecting her or protecting the chemistry they built without her? For many, this delay looks less medical and more strategic. The Fever may be using Clark's injury as a shield to keep her off the court while the rest of the team builds its identity. She would not be training, practicing by herself. She wouldn't have her own trainers. Yesterday, she would be wearing similar attire to the game. She would be sitting out. She was hurt. My prediction is there's no timetable. Although Stephanie White acknowledged that Caitlin Clark's presence on the roster draws attention to everything more, she swiftly steered the discussion away from her. She talked about external rumors, pressure, and the team's unity without really bringing up Clark's leadership. According to Stephanie White, it's unquestionably different. Everything is highlighted. Obviously, much more speculation about things that people don't know about. Much more, I guess, activity from the outside? Yeah, of course. You have the biggest player in the league on your team. You have the most noticeable, the most notoriety player on your team. You have the biggest superstar in the league on your team. That subtle distance is telling. It sounds like a team that's learning to thrive under a spotlight Clark helped attract, but no longer needs to maintain. If the coach won't publicly reassert Clark's role, it suggests her place in the upcoming rotation is not as certain as supporters had imagined. Of course, there's going to be more chatter compared to you playing in the practice gym in a casino when you were coaching the Connecticut Sun. Of course, did you not expect this? Were you thrown for a loop over here? But there is also a great deal of nasty stuff. I would argue that this team is more positive than nasty. When ESPN's Holly Rowe offered according to the medical update, Clark had begun running full court but was still not playing basketball. Even while the distance is small, the coaching staff keeps trying to close it. A player of Clark's caliber would typically be pressured to return and stabilize the team as the playoffs draw near. But here, the opposite is happening. The Fever appeared happy to switch up their lineups, give other players more playing time, and let Clark take a back seat. That's not how you treat a franchise centerpiece unless she's no longer the centerpiece. All right, and then there was Holly Rowe, which was from yesterday's game. Okay. That is significant. I think she's getting closer to coming back. Yesterday, I participated in the conversation regarding the August 12th game during Ben Daniels' live stream. All right. Do I believe she's not going to play tomorrow? Good God, those are 9:00 p.m. games. Oh. In a forthright breakdown, one observer lambasted the lineup decisions. Please do not put Arai, Kelsey, and Caitlin on the floor at the same time. It wasn't just tactics that were frustrating, it had to do with roles. The message was basic. Caitlin, instead of being coerced, Clark's presence should be strategically employed. I am aware that I stated it live. This will be the last time I say it. Do not place Arai and Kelsey and Caitlin on the floor at the same time. Please don't. Please don't do it, man. Please. Okay. That lineup was completely nonsensical. Okay. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? White? Stephanie? Particularly when the club tries out rotations that don't revolve around Clark, this notion has gained traction. Fans are beginning to realize that Clark may not have the role in the Fever system that was once anticipated. She was once thought of be the once-court engine, but now she is seen as an optional piece of equipment. All right, we are aware of the lineups. You simply keep Aari out, don't you? She is Caitlin's backup. Now, if you Aari must enter, then Kelsey must rise from the ground, okay? Alternatively, Caitlin must be getting up from the floor if Aari must be present. Since Caitlin and Aari are the team's two top ball handlers, that lineup simply won't work. Okay. And the team's two most assured ball handlers. Some media outlets are hailing the Fever as America's team in the absence of Caitlin Clark. However, the acclaim is hardly celebratory. Her input. It basically ignores them. Articles and reports have begun to draw a distinction between the team's expansion and Clark's support base. Some narratives portray the fans she attracted to the WNBA as an issue rather than a strength. They are America's team without Caitlin Clark, are they? Or do they have America's "we're off that"? That's not even counting the number of people who have come to see this team because Kane Clark fans, and even when she wasn't playing, fans still watch this team because they fell in love with it. Rather than using that approach, the plot is changing from Clark being the league's face to being a burden that the Fever overcame. This type of framing is intentional. Only when you're getting the audience ready for a squad that moves on from its star will this public relations tactic be effective. And think they have yet to achieve a higher level. And in this piece, even though Caitlin Clark has been hurt, there is a lot of hate that goes along with it, almost exclusively online, without even discussing the support this team has received. Read the comments, please. They had to cope with it both this season and previous season. One commentator's strong statement stood out. Fans of Caitlin Clark are encouraged to keep quiet and simply cough over the bread. It's not just regarding basketball. It has to do with how the team and league are handling the same fan base that caused ticket sales and ratings to soar. Their goal is to eliminate the Fever. The Fever are not protecting Clark in their messaging, and her supporters are being portrayed as outsiders. We all discussed that, and it's like, teams guard the Fever differently. Teams guard Kate Clark differently. Teams play differently because they want to beat Caitlin Clark. The quiet surrounding her from within the team stands in stark contrast to the internet arguments around her worth. In other regions of the league, the Fever seems to be intentionally moving away from what their star stands for rather than coming together around her. They're doing it together without Caitlin Clark and believe they've still got another level to attain. And even though Caitlin Clark has been hurt, the one person who brought all of this together is still included in this piece without discussing the support this team has received. They despise her. Attention. After being uttered on a podcast that attacked the WNBA's handling of Clark, that comment went viral. The startling thing is that it doesn't seem over the top. From sex objects being thrown on the court to racial slurs and persistent hostility, Caitlin Clark has become a magnet for controversy and little has been done to defend her. The league and the Fever seem unconcerned, if not complicit, rather than uniting behind their main draw. When silence is met with insult, it frequently denotes disengagement, and that distance is widening. Everyone was gathered around the one individual who has garnered all of the media attention and all of the things they say they desired. They despise her since she was the one who brought it in. They despise her. They attack her. They never stop attacking her. It is what it is. Furthermore, I'm not even sure what can actually be done at this time. For example, social media exposes a new battlefield. Caitlin Clark is noticeably missing from these cultural touchpoints, despite the fact that several Fever teammates, including Natasha Howard, Lexi Hull, and Sophie Cunningham, are actively sharing TikToks and commemorating team milestones. What are we doing? For example, I'm not sure what happened to the screen there, but I'm kidding you. But this is a week where Sophie Cunningham has not attended an away crowd without being jeered, and she hasn't since the All-Star break. The remarks made by Aaliyah regarding Aaliyah Boston on the internet within the past week. Rival supporters have embarrassed themselves with the things that have been posted about Aaliyah Boston online. Totally embarrassing. However, the online atmosphere ultimately feels like two distinct teams. Together, they were vibrating, and then Clark departed. By itself. It isn't about small-time exclusion. It has to do with branding. A message is created by these digital optics. Clark isn't the focal point of who we are now. This social divide speaks louder than any post-game stat sheet for a league, looking to foster relationships. In all honesty, neither she nor I should see it, and I sincerely hope that she doesn't. Because of this, a number of members have stopped using social media. It's a daily difficult to block out the sounds. No, they don't. People say things like, "Oh, they need to get off social media." Don't remove the Twitter app, though. Keep your eyes off Twitter. On Instagram, you are literally free to do anything you want. The players you wish to follow can be followed. You are not required to read your comments. Avoiding everything on Instagram is pretty simple. The Fever will eventually pay for their poor performance without Caitlin Clark. In the absence of Caitlin Clark, they are working together. Social media is where they are. They are the center of attention. However, where is Clark? The entire bench appeared energized. Clark wasn't even in the picture either. Realistically, the Fever will eventually pay for their poor performance without Caitlin Clark. Without Caitlin Clark, they are working together. For example, If you look at Caitlin Clark, these were awful games. Simply put, Caitlin and the squad played terrible games. They despise her since she was the one who brought it in. The Indiana Fever apparently selected a photo that did not feature Caitlin Clark. They despise the one individual who garnered all of this attention. For example, share this if you support Caitlin startled you. Before the next shocking revelation,